Hello everyone, I am Veos and welcome back to another video. Now, I was thinking, what was that one? Yes, let's load the entire Leviosa. My goodness, okay, we're going into 29 seconds, 33 seconds, 38, wow, that's a long time. Alright, the big boy SSTO, as we all know and love. We love this little guy. He's the big boy SSTO. He looks cute. He has the little thing. He's adorable. He can carry 36 tons into orbit. He's just perfect. Yes, he is. But here's the question. I've read comments saying that, oh, well, it's too bad that you can only get into, you can only make an SSTO with rapiers only, or rapiers and nukes. I mean, I should make a, an interplanetary SSTO. Realistically speaking, a remote-controlled interplanetary SSTO would be way better. Grabs cargo, takes off, and heads for Mars. I mean, Duna in this case, and then arrives at, a certain time and drops its cargo off or whatnot. Having passengers stuck on a small space plane for months, if not a year or more, just to get to the nearest planet would be horrible. Okay, or the space needed to hold a lot of people. You would need something a lot bigger. You would need something like a starship, like SpaceX. This is why if I ever made an interplanetary SSTO, it would more than likely be cargo-based, remote control, just to deliver cargo. I mean, sure, it's wicked easy to make a passenger SSTO because the weight requirements are way lower, but it just wouldn't really seem ethical to stick all those poor little guys into there in there like a sardine. But okay, so what I'm trying to say is there are people out there who are discouraged over the fact that you can only make an SSTO using rapiers or nerves or nerves, nuclear engines, basically. And I want to show them that that's not the case. Now, I've built many different crafts that run completely on rocket power and stuff of this nature. We have the Daedalus class SSTO that can carry what was it? It can carry up to 5 tons. I think this is 5 tons. Is that 5 tons? Yeah, about 5 or 6 tons. It can carry a good sized satellite payload into orbit, and it's a rocket SSTO. One rocket engine SSTO. Takes off like a plane, lands like a plane, right? And it's only one engine rocket SSTO, okay? Then of course we have the Hercules class SSRT, which is basically SSRT stands for single stage rocket technology. It was the terminology used by McDonnell Douglas before they became Boeing, and it was the terminology used before SSTO was being used or was a thing. This can carry 36 tons into orbit, and it's all rocket powered. Now I'm guessing I could make it smaller. I'm actually really curious to see if I could make this actually smaller and more condensed. But when it gets into orbit, it's got plenty of delta V left over, and that's perfect for like orbital maneuvers and stuff of this nature. And it runs off of one rocket engine part, the Mammoth. That's it. No combination of anything, just one rocket engine part, the Mammoth. And it can get into orbit just fine, but it does not use rapiers. It's big. Oh, it's big. But, of course it runs off of rocket power only, so it would be big. And it takes off from the runway like a plane. It doesn't start off vertically. It's like a plane. It starts off on the runway and lands on the runway, which in many ways is actually a lot better than a craft that you have to prop up and get everything ready and then launch it and then stuff of this nature. You literally just roll that sucker inside of the hangar bay, do what you need to do, maintenance, whatever, and then roll it back out into the runway and it takes off and comes back. I mean, that's the dream, right? However, can we make an SSTO from absolute basics, basically absolutely nothing? What I mean is the lowest engine tech tree possible. And the answer is, of course, yes. But here's what I'm trying to say. It's easy to actually make an SSTO out of the very basic parts that you supposedly start off with in the game if you were to run a career mode. Problem with that is that a lot of these Man, I am tired. I apologize. My brain is moving a mile a second and my mouth is having problems keeping up. It's easy to make an SSTO with basic low-tech parts, but it's not easy to make a useful SSTO. Anybody can slap one cockpit on a plane, throw some rockets on it, and make it go into orbit. But can we make something like the Big Boy or the Hercules, being able to bring up a 36-ton payload into orbit using the lowest tech tree elements ever, which would be, in this case, the lowly and humble Reliant engine. The Reliant engine is something that you unlock when you unlock liquid fuel or something of that nature. I can't remember which exactly. It's been a long time since I've played career mode. So the Reliant rocket engine, in order to make an SSTO, a useful SSTO, something that can bring cargo into orbit. Ooh, maybe I bit off more than I can chew with this one. This might take longer than expected because I can't remember which ones were the low-tech ones. What was low-tech? Oh, crap. Hello, everyone. We're going to have to go ahead and wrap this up as fast as we can. We're running out of time. I'm already on hour 4 of making this video, but I'm going to try to explain some of the things that you're seeing. There was actually 3 different prototypes that I ended up building. The first one was, well, crap, but in order to make it more low-tech, I didn't want to use those slanted wingy bits. So instead I went for just full delta winglet, like the very first winglets that you get in the game for career mode. Also, the nose cone, when I put it on the front of the capsule, that actually is better than, say, putting on the nose parachute or the parachute that goes on the nose. The parachute that goes on the nose actually creates way more drag than if you were to have nothing on the nose of that command module. So yeah, for drag's sake, that particular nose cone works perfectly. Looks a little weird, but we end up fixing it later. But some of you who have watched my Solar Nations videos, a lot of this stuff is going to seem familiar because it's the same techniques that I was using on the different crafts that were in Solar Nations. Solar Nations, I was basically working with hardly nothing when it came to the tech tree, so I had to be very creative, and a lot of cool stuff came out of it. Now this is the second prototype, which ends up being the best one, because after trying to figure out the center of mass and center of lift problem when re-entering Kerbal, I tried to build another prototype that was more based on more modern parts, like the Mark III parts, trying to keep the center of mass in one place on the SSTO at all times during construction. Sounds easy, right? Well, yeah, if you're dealing with large parts that are able to, like wings and stuff, those large parts are easier to manipulate and move around, and they look a hell of a lot better, like the Big Boy SSTO. But when you're dealing with really basic parts that end up being very small, and you have to kind of cluster them together, it gets complicated very quickly. It ended up looking like, well, absolute crap. And ultimately, it had the same problem of the center of mass and center of lift being off during re-entry. But it really boiled down to which one I liked better, aesthetically speaking. And I ended up liking the second prototype way better. So I fixed it up so that the center of mass and center of lift during re-entry, even though they were really close, the center of lift was still behind the center of mass, giving it stability on the way down, which completed this little challenge that I made myself to make a super duper extremely low tech. And when I mean extremely low tech, I'm talking like no Junos, okay, at all. No prop engines. The very first few engines that you get in the game, the Reliant and the Swivel, pretty much, that's it. And try to make a SSTO that takes off from the runway like a plane and lands on the runway like a plane, delivering its cargo into space. Now, yes, I didn't go for the full 36 tons. That's gonna have to be in another video if I ever start this back up again, because it took almost almost 5 hours to make. But 16 tons, which is half that, is pretty good for starters. Now this landing is going to be pretty hard because it's mountainous terrain, and unfortunately it doesn't go very well, but I'm going to end the video here. I just want to thank you all for watching and thank you all for being a part of this channel, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Please take care of yourselves and have a wonderful weekend. Love you all, and goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.